And essentially what that means is that you and your company are legally two separate things. So if heaven forbid someone sues you, and keep in mind anybody can sue anybody at any time and for any reason. Doesn't mean they'll be successful, but they can certainly sue you. So if someone does sue you, you want them to be able to get only the business assets. Not your home, not your car, and not your retirement. And this is really important. Chip Schweiger here. Welcome to another edition of the Things Entrepreneurs Should Know, the business podcast for entrepreneurs, founders, and business owners who want to build lasting financial value and supercharge the growth of their business. Starting a business can be an exciting yet challenging endeavor. One of the most critical decisions you'll need to make is choosing the right business structure for your company. If you're an entrepreneur or small business owner, understanding which business entities offer limited liability and how to preserve it is essential for protecting your personal assets. So today on the show, we'll talk about why you should always have your business set up in a legal entity, how that affords you limited liability, and most importantly, what not to do if you want to keep that limited liability. And we'll do it all in about 10 minutes. After the episode, check out the show notes at teskpod.com. Hi, and welcome back. Starting a business can be an exciting yet challenging endeavor. And one of the most common questions that business owners ask is how they get the benefits of limited liability. Look, if you're an entrepreneur or small business owner, understanding which business entities offer limited liability and how to preserve it is essential for protecting your personal assets. Now, first things first, you should always have your businesses set up in a legal entity like a limited liability company or what's called an LLC. An LLC is a hybrid business structure that combines some of the most attractive features of corporations and sole proprietorships. Like corporations, all types of LLCs provide limited protection against personal liability, which is why you need one. And essentially what that means is that you and your company are legally two separate things. So if heaven forbid someone sues you, and keep in mind anybody can sue anybody at any time and for any reason. Doesn't mean they'll be successful, but they can certainly sue you. So if someone does sue you, you want them to be able to get only the business assets. Not your home, not your car, and not your retirement. And this is really important. So which business entities have limited liability? Well, corporations do. A corporation is a legal entity that is separate and distinct from its owners, who are known as shareholders. This separation allows shareholders to enjoy limited liability, meaning they're not personally liable for the company's debts and obligations. If the corporation faces financial difficulties or lawsuits, the shareholders' personal assets are generally protected. While corporations are great for shielding a lot of liability, LLCs do the same. And they're much easier to set up and they're less expensive to run. An LLC combines the limited liability features of a corporation with the tax efficiencies and operational flexibility of a partnership. Members of an LLC aren't personally responsible for the company's debts or liabilities. This means that their personal assets are typically protected if the LLC incurs debt or is sued. Now, while forming a corporation or an LLC provides limited liability, maintaining this protection requires ongoing effort and adherence to specific legal requirements. So let's talk about the key practices to ensure you preserve your limited liability status. And there are 7 important things I want to share with you. First, maintain proper separation between personal and business finances. One of the most crucial steps in preserving limited liability is to keep your personal finances separate from your business finances. This includes opening a separate bank account for your business. ensuring all business transactions are conducted through that business account, and avoiding using business funds for personal expenses and vice versa. Secondly, always act in the best interest of the company. As an owner or member, you have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the company and its shareholders or members, and that includes you, even if you're the only one, because remember, you and your business are legally two separate things. This means making decisions that benefit the company, avoiding conflicts of interest, and not using the company for personal gain. 3, comply with legal and regulatory requirements. Each business entity has specific legal and regulatory requirements that must be met to maintain limited liability protection. For corporations, this may include holding regular board of directors meetings, keeping detailed meeting minutes, and filing annual reports and paying necessary fees. While for LLCs, it may involve merely adhering to the operating agreement and filing appropriate documents with state authorities. The fourth thing to keep in mind is to avoid commingling personal assets with business assets. And this is really important, really important. Commingling personal and business assets can jeopardize your limited liability protection. And I know you've probably heard the stories about people using business assets solely for personal use. But just because someone else has gotten away with it doesn't mean you would. Now, this can also include using personal property for business purposes without proper documentation or failing to document loans or advances made to the business. So it goes the other way too. And when you do any of this, it's called piercing the corporate veil. And trust me, you don't want to do that. The fifth point is to fulfill all financial and filing obligations. Corporations and LLCs must meet certain financial and filing obligations to maintain good standing. These include paying state and federal taxes, filing annual reports or statements of information, and renewing necessary licenses and permits. 6, adhere to bylaws or operating agreements. Both corporations and LLCs have governing documents, bylaws for corporations and operating agreements for LLCs. These documents outline how the business is to be run and the responsibilities of its owners and managers. Adhering to these rules ensures that decisions and actions are made in accordance with established guidelines, preserving the integrity of the business structure and keeping that nice separation we like to see. And the 7th and last item is to keep accurate and up-to-date records. Maintaining accurate and up-to-date records of all business activities is essential. This includes financial statements and accounting records, meeting minutes and corporate resolutions, and contracts and legal agreements. So here's the takeaway. Choosing the right business entity is a crucial step in protecting your personal assets. Corporations and LLCs offer limited liability, but maintaining this protection requires ongoing diligence and adherence to legal requirements. By keeping personal and business finances separate, acting in the best interests of the company, even though you own the company, and complying with legal obligations, you can ensure your limited liability status remains intact. Well, that about wraps up another edition of the Things Entrepreneurs Should Know podcast. Be sure to check out our website at teskpod.com, where you can find the show notes, an archive of our past episodes, and other resources to help grow your business. That's teskpod.com. And if you haven't done so already, I'd really appreciate if you'd take just 1 minute to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, or you can rate us on Spotify. It helps out a lot to get this to more entrepreneurs and business owners. And if you've done that already, please consider sharing this show with family and friends who you think would get something out of it. As always, thank you for your support. This is Chip Schweiger reminding you that if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. We'll see you down the road.